comparison. I said, Minister Clark does an excellent job of spending the money.
Right.
But really and truly, the money that pays your salary and my salary, Minister Clark's or the Prime Minister's salary, come from business.
Yes.
It comes from the corporate income tax. It comes from the customs fees they pay. They pay charges along the way. They pay their employees that pay GCT, which is the easiest tax for the government to collect. And of course, when they pay us, when business pay us from the taxes that they're paying, we spend, and then GCT is earned by the government. So everything about the government money, even when we borrow, if Minister Clark was to borrow, and thank God we haven't been borrowing, we've been running around our debt. If Minister Clark has to borrow, who pays for it? It's the business. So, but we haven't had, as far as I can see, a clear minister that champions the issues that have to be. When I go to customs, how do I manage? When I want to get some help from the government, from the productive incentive benefit that we offer, the PIR, how do you get it? And we are there to say, this is how you do it. And how do we do it? We have 20 agencies. We have JAMPRO, Jamaica Business Development Corporation. We have, of course, Exim Bank. We have JANAC that does accreditation. We have the Business Bureau of Standards. We have NRCA.
Well,
all of these to help people, to help business do well.
Because you said a lot of things that I think some of it we're going to have to unpack.
Do that. That's why I wanted to do it. Unpack it with me.
So let us start at the beginning. Let us start at industry.
Yes.
So you are the minister who basically facilitates the development of industry, ease of doing business, the creation of a framework where people can get jobs in these industries. How does that work in the ministry?
That works, and the word that I'm glad you use, facilitate, I'm going to add enabling and encouraging businesses to do business. Because a lot of what you hear, Minister Morgan, is that government is an obstacle. You hear it every single place you go. And what we're trying to do at this ministry is to make sure we are enabling, but encouraging other industries to enable. I just came from launching just now Jamaica Business Gateway. We have now put 14 processes of government, from CLA to customs to JTIP out of the Trade Board, on a gateway. You can now go to jamaicabusinessgateway.com and see what you can get there. Easily navigate the use of government business. We're going to add another 49 or so in the end. So we're making sure businesses can find it easy way to. So if they need to have a place for something at cannabis CLA today, having launched it, or customs they can go and see, or the trade board they can go and see, to make sure they don't have to get up and go, they don't have to send a whole heap of paper. We didn't have anybody sign in to come into this thing. You just go online and it's there to help you. And that's one of the things we do to enable business, to do business easier.
Because one of the big issues that Jamaicans generally complain about is how long it takes to get things done. How many hours you have to spend,
and how much paper you have to sign up,
how much time you have to spend at the tax office, how much time you have to spend at government agencies. So your ministry is actually doing things to save me time, and we know time is money, not true?
And that's what I just said. And you know, Minister Morgan, I'm going to bring a note to Cabinet in the very near future to say what we've done and to make sure all the ministries sitting around that Cabinet table know that this is the way you go. So if, for instance, we have Asekuda, when you go on the Jamaica Business Gateway, you don't see Asekuda. It's behind you. Go through the gateway and it works wonderfully for you, and you're accessing customs from the Jamaica Business Gateway. And that could be if you're in Dubai and you have business to do with the custom to do it, or you're in Poland. You can access this from any place, and that's what we're trying to make sure it's easy for people to do. And all the 20 agencies in my ministry are going on board, so you can access them from there. And all are not there now, but all are going to get there in the next 18 to 24 months.
So I know that I'm on Love FM,
which I love.
And do you know that Aubyn is a very good Christian man?
Yes.
I listened back to the Bible on the station
Wow.
for years
He will read
And-
every scripture that you can find.
from my head.
But the reason why I say that is that I hope Nadine excuses me for asking this question.
Praise the Lord, brother.
The question is about cannabis. And I know
Okay, I just had
Christians.
Some Christians use it for tea
Let me tell you. So there was a whole lot of noise a couple
recently.
weeks ago where people said that you imported 200 pounds of cannabis from Canada. Minister, did you import cannabis from Canada?
Well,
did you import 200 pounds of cannabis?
It's interesting that you ask it that way, Robert.
Because that's what the rumor was, that the minister.
And the listener just sent in that
The
No,
question.
ganja.
but you and I shared
Yes,
a video clip where a Naya man is out there, Aya,
yes.
saying that we import a shipload. A shipload. Minister, one person imported 44 pounds for 5 shops. Now, what happened there is the people, this is where the following of a rule to its extreme, while you're right legally, maybe the judgment that should have accompanied that the evaluation of that rule was not quite up to scratch.
So you never imported the ganja?
I never even knew the thing was because there's a process as a CLA. Can you imagine if every minister,
The CLA, that's the
the
Cannabis,
Cannabis Licensing Authority,
Okay.
well, can you imagine if you as a minister have the right to pick up the phone and call them people, or I have the authority to pick up the phone and call the people? There'll be chaos. So there's a process in place. They follow the process. Judgment should have been exercised. And it's now when the issue became big, of course, I got involved. I've now got even more involved than I was, and make sure the process involves not just the legality of importing, but you have to load on the social issues and the judgmental parts that you have to put on it. And we've now fixed that issue.
So, and I want to say this because, and I'm addressing.
No, and I didn't sign it. I didn't know about it. I didn't import any of it. I want to make sure that's
Right.
clear on the record.
So I'm addressing you guys out there. And one of the things that we try to do on this program is to educate you on what the facts are. The minister never imported any marijuana into Jamaica. There was an automatic process where people apply for license. Somebody applied for a license and they were approved to import 44 pounds, was it?
Yes.
For 5 cannabis shops that they have. And we have realized the error that took place and have made steps to ensure that it is corrected. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. But I need to say that other people have now applied for the importation of something else, some cannabis something, and it has been turned down. And there, the law as it applies now gives them the right to appeal to a tribunal. So they've appealed. So the process is going through. But we're making sure that we look at, for instance, Canada. Health Canada does not allow any import of anything into Canada. Now, they never tell you no. You just never get an answer for about 5 years. It's just there, the application is there, but they
Right.
haven't said no.
So you the other word in your ministry is investment.
Yes.
Now, when I was director, I had a chance to speak to Jampro, and they told me that your ministry is probably the reason why we have so many business process outsourcing entities in Jamaica, because you guys started that whole encouraging BPOs to come to Jamaica.
That's the absolute truth. And a great deal of compliment must be given to Jampro.
Right.
Diane Edwards, who was the president just before she let Cox know, spent a great deal of time doing that. And really that creation came to us when we lost sugar. We had to look to somewhere else. And Minister Morgan, the BPO sector is now, I don't know, we have 85 people in businesses in that shop. Before, at the end of 2019, before COVID hit, we had 43,000 employees. We are well past 60,000 and growing. I spoke to the outsourcing conference, the Global Services Association of Jamaica, in Montego Bay last week. A lot of foreign investors and operators were there, and they are enamored with Jamaica. We have things we have to look at. Yes, they talk about the pricing, they talk about other things, but we're near shore to the biggest market in the world. And the United States is making it very clear that they want nearshoring from the Caribbean and they don't want the long supply chains from Asia, and those are the people who they have problems with in Asia.
So let us talk about these 43 to 60,000 jobs.
Yes, in 2 years or so.
So there are a lot of people who think that BPOs are just call centers, that they are low-paid jobs where people just get up and go to a call center.
So glad you asked
And
me that.
I want you to, because it's very important, because I know people who worked in BPOs and were doing their masters and they could go on and get bigger jobs. I know lawyers who are working in BPOs, accountants who are working in BPOs and are well paid. Can you explain to us how
since you start with BPO, we started with business processing outsourcing. It's now knowledge processing outsourcing. What do I mean? This is what it is. KPMG, for instance, out of Chicago. Today, when they have a matter that needs people to work, their first port of stop is Jamaica. They have a bigger operation in India, I know that, but Jamaica is very near shore, same time zone practically.
Near shore meaning close to where their market is.
Close to where it is. And when we say near shore, we mean near shore to the United States, which is the biggest market around the world. So they now send, they probably have 600, 700 people here. They can grow to 1,400, 1,500.
These are people employed.
Not just employed. These are accountants, people who are give advisory services. These are high level paying jobs.
Accountants working in BPOs in Jamaica.
Very experienced, and they're on Harbour Street, right next to Grace, right downtown. They fix up that place. Now, what happens there is that we're now looking at how do we make it more attractive for them to come. They want more to come. There are certain things I have to talk to Minister Clark about, but the knowledge outsourcing business is great because you know what? Let me tell you how I test it. There's a guy called Claude. I won't bother with his second name. He now runs Sutherland.
Right.
Claude used to be a vice president of Jampro. Now, when you're a vice president Jampro, you have government security. You have it's very hard to lose your job. They travel a lot. And here, Claude left vice president of Jampro to go and run Sutherland. That means Minister, I almost said Robert, but Aubyn is good. That they find it to be good. Now, when the Prime Minister opened informatics about 3 months ago in Portmore, I went, and when after he left, I went and looked at the people, what they do. I think it's JetBlue. It has their center of excellence right out there at Portmore. When I came down and looked at the cars, I saw one guy up there dressed in t-shirt and jeans. And I come down and look at the cars. There are no Ladas. There are no Probox. They are BMW. They're high-end Toyota cars. And therefore, you see that people who are working there in the knowledge processing outsourcing are doing very well and very happy to have the jobs that they have.
So your ministry pioneered BPOs in Jamaica. Different levels of Jamaicans are working in BPO, from accountants to lawyers and so on.
That's right.
That's what investment is about, I suspect.
That's what bringing investment does. Clearly, on the other side of the service industry, Minister Ed Bartlett has been doing a tremendous job in bringing in investment through the tourism industry. The tax laws that we have help them. We need to make them even more attractive. So that's what the investment come in. But we have always generally think of investment, Mr. Morgan, as foreign direct investment. That's what you hear all the time. Well, because Jamaica has changed so fast and so well, a couple of months ago, I was at British High Commission dinner, and two major Jamaican businessmen took me aside and said, we have never seen Jamaica like this in 30 or 40 years. We're putting in billions of dollars. That time they were telling me they're putting in billions of dollars in Jamaica, investing as Jamaican investors. This money usually go out after they make it. Now they're reinvesting in Jamaica. So Jamaica is a really good place. So local direct investment is now equal for me as a center, as a destination, as foreign direct investment.
So I want to remind the listeners, if you want to call in, 968-8328. 997 is the WhatsApp number. 997-3125 is the WhatsApp number. But you can call us directly at 968-8328. And persons on TikTok, you can ask your questions. Once you ask questions that don't have the
those words.
derogatory word,
Those words.
then we will answer your question. We have a first question on our WhatsApp group. Why are we importing cannabis and we have it here? That's the first question. And the second question is, how can farmers cultivate ganja to sell? This would be a good investment to earn foreign exchange. And that's Angela from Yuatan.
All right. Well, we don't import a lot of ganja. That one made the press, and we have not imported anything else. And it's not our aim to import ganja. The rule is on the ganja is a Schedule 1 drug, and it's a UN convention. On the UN convention, once you grow enough in your country to take care of the local needs, you do not have to import. We believe Jamaica is at that place, and we now have Statin doing it. The Cannabis Licensing Authority is engaging Statin to make sure we have the records completely up to date. So we're not importing anymore now. But the question is interesting. I'm here selling exports a lot, so we have to export. We live in a world we have to go by the rules, but the rules of the UN that we signed that treaty in 1989. It came in force in 1961. We don't have to import more ganja if we create enough here and we grow enough here, and we certainly do.
But I have a question for you, Minister. So Jamaica wants to export as much products as we can so we can earn foreign exchange. Are people going to allow us to export our cannabis and not import from them?
You need to understand what a Schedule 1 drug is for the listener. A Schedule 1 drug puts us in the same place as heroin and those and fentanyl. It is banned globally. Globally scheduled ganja is a Schedule 1 drug. You cannot. So you in the United states are changing. So California is growing, Colorado. But because it's a federal law, the Schedule 1 law is a federal law, it cannot go straight line. It cannot break interstate commerce rules. So
you cannot go in the banking sector.
And you cannot go in the banking sector. So that's why we can't do banking, because if any one of our banks here were to touch it, then their correspondent bank in the United States would stop doing business with them, and then there wouldn't be a bank.
Somebody is asking on TikTok, will there be any more factories opening so we can create more jobs? And this is Sam. Sam, we have actually run out of factory space. We have to be building more.
Factories Corporation, as you know, Minister, is building a lot more space, and they don't have enough space. But also, for instance, I just visited Wysinco, and Wysinco is putting billions of dollars to expand the space that they're manufacturing and using for warehouse here in Jamaica. I know people like Grace are investing significant amount of money, and Jamaica Brothers Group. I'm just calling some of the big ones. Smaller companies are investing to grow their businesses. Small companies on the junior stock exchange are doing that. So across the country, you see people are building to manufacture more and to create services that we can export, because we don't only export goods, and we have to export more of that, but we also have to create and package services that people overseas want to buy.
So, and I'm just running through questions here, Minister. Yes. What do you mean? What of all the lands that we have? Is it one of the things that, and I think it's good that we're having these conversations, right? Because a lot of Jamaicans don't understand a lot of the systems that exist in the country, even long before we became government.
Yes, right.
So somebody would say, why are you not building more factories? A big part of the challenge that we're having, Minister, is that there are a lot of people. We are reaching a point where we are finding it hard to find people to employ to put in these factories.
That's a very good point that you've raised, because under the Andrew Holness administration, we are now at historically the lowest unemployment we've ever had in the history of the country. We're down to between 6 and 6.5%. which for an emerging market country, that's near to full employment. So what are we looking to do? We have maybe 250, 350,000 young people, primarily young men, who are out there not in the workforce. I know Prime Minister Holness has repurposed HEART. Professor Alvin Wint is now the chairman. I know he's just put on the former head of the joint, the JDF on it, General Rocky Mead, and so they have a new managing director, Dr. Ingleton. So they're looking now to take these young people, not to train them where they are, take them, Cobbler, Nakalva, all those camps that we've had, and put them there, pay them a stipend, give them discipline, because they haven't had homes. Many of them don't come from homes that are functional. And give them discipline, train them, give them a skill, and certify them. When I was in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Prime Minister gave me that work to do, to look at the training that we're doing through JAMPRO. We've borrowed 15 million US dollars from IDB, and we were training, and I looked at it, and the moment I saw it, I brought it back to cabinet and said, no, training and certification. Every single one of them must be certified so they can work here in Jamaica and elsewhere. So we're looking to expand the workforce through apprenticeship and training from HART and other agencies.
And HART has trained over 100,000 people last year. And I remember Prime Minister announced in his budget presentation that there are no fees to get into HART anymore. So
there are
you
no
don't have an
fees,
excuse.
You don't have any, and they give you a stipend. And we give you training in skill that you can use the moment you come out.
Right. This person says we want to bring equipment from China and reverse engineer them. I don't know if that is something that I can answer. I did not see your question, Dominique. If you could repeat it again, a lot of questions are coming in. Why is it so hard for returning residents to come back to Jamaica and open a business?
I don't know it's so hard. What might be interesting is that I lived overseas for many, many years, and I came back to Jamaica. Now, clearly, the way I came back, my wife is a person who had the problem was to find markets and new supermarkets. I came back. I left from one fancy CEO office to a new to one in Jamaica.
To be a bank manager in Dubai.
I used to run bank in Oman, worked in Dubai, worked in Kuwait, worked in Sri Lanka, India, worked in Rome. So I came back to run NCB. So I didn't have any adjustment to make really, except with the people in the bank. When people are coming home after many years, they are used to a certain way of life in the United States. It's much more seamless, which is what I'm trying to do with the Jamaica Business Gateway. Make it easier to come in. And sometimes I just wish when they're coming back to please go to JamaicaBusinessGateway.com or come to the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. We have 20 agencies. We will help you to get settled in. We'll get you, you're going to have customs issues. We can help with that. The ministry, the Jamaica Business Ministry is here to help you. They don't often use the services of government. They go somewhere else, tell them something. Sometimes they get ripped off and then they come to the government. So please come to us first and use the Jamaica Business Gateway. I just launched it. It is wonderful. Please use it.
This person is asking, what about manufacturing incentives for Black Jamaicans? I don't know if we can say Black Jamaicans because we're out of many one people.
My motto is out of many one people, and I don't.
But I understand what he's saying.
I know what he means.
Yes.
What you can do is, for instance, let me tell you about the productive input relief, PIR. Last year, I think the number I saw, we dispersed about $88 billion, Jamaican dollars, to people to help them buy equipment for their factories and that kind of stuff. The ministry has that kind of money. If you have a plan, we'll help. If you don't have a plan, Jamaica Business Development Corporation and JAMPRO will help you make a plan. When you do, if you have a great idea, come and talk to us. We have a way to help you buy some of your equipment, and it's a grant, it's not a loan. So listen, come talk to us at Jamaica Business Gateway.com or the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. We are committed to helping you and to facilitate. We're not going to put up any barriers. And if you have any barriers, I give out my number. I'm on Twitter. WhatsApp me. I will make sure we tear through the nonsense for you.
So we have a voice note. Thank you, Nadine. What is the voice note?
Pleasant day to the panel. Why is it the little man on the corner is not allowed to plant ganja. And they are the one that used to be taken in jail. I have seen policemen run them down because of one little spliff. And now only the big man are benefiting and not the small man. Why can't they plant it as well and get it to make a living for themselves? Why?
You know, it's interesting you should say that because we have just announced an improved program where we're going to take away the fees for 1 or 2 years, maybe 2 years, and make sure the not just the small man, the traditional farmer has a way to get in. We have to remember though that part of why the police has to do what it has to do, we signed that treaty which recognize and which is in fact ganja is a Schedule 1 drug. So we have to manage it carefully. Especially when you've been doing this all your life and your uncle and your father may have been doing it and it was prohibited. Now we have moved it into the formal arrangement. So we're making it. The truth is, the law when it was put together in 2015 has been cumbersome. I have been looking at it to adjust just now at the opening of the gateway. Said to Devine White from the CLA, I want those regulations reviewed and where there are obstacles, remove them so that people at the lower end can get involved in the business. The big men are also complaining because, frankly, they're complaining to say they can't get banking done, and we can't do any banking until Schedule 1 is moved, and Schedule 1 is not going to move until the United States moves it. So we are looking at ways we can sell now to Germany. We sell to Australia. Canada has produced far more cannabis than they will ever need. And the US just is not importing any because it's illegal. So we have to navigate around this. But yes, sir, we're now, if you talk to the CLA, you will find that we're becoming a lot more enabling, a lot more able to facilitate rather than just become a blocking regulator that only said this is a rule and you can't do it. We're going to try and help you find a way.
So your ministry is industry, investment,
and commerce.
We're now at commerce. That is trading.
That means anything moving things from one place to the other, from one owner to the next. That means you're a distributor. You move it to a shop. You move it to a customer. All that process, that chain, that supply chain, is commerce, and that falls somehow. In our ministry, we have to go overseas and negotiate with COTED to make sure if you're doing certain things, you get benefits from it, or you remove the obstacles. Because again, we have treaties signed, we quoted. That commerce part of the ministry deals with getting goods into factories or goods from factories into shops and from shops into houses.
So talk to the lady or the young man who has a small business in Jamaica who wants to use your ministry to expand his business. He probably is a artisan. He probably makes things, or he probably trades, imports a container once in a while and trades. Tell me how your ministry can assist him to expand his business.
Before he gets to all that, he needs to look at packaging. He needs to look at what the customs rules are, and they're not going to be easy for a man who's just starting his business in the country. I mean, I'm from St. Elizabeth. I know how not easy it has been for some business people down there, but how easy it's becoming because Jamaica Business Development Corporation, sometimes Exim Bank, certainly JAMPRO. We have JANAC who will help you to get your accreditation. So we have all kinds of ways to help you. What I'm encouraging them to do is to make sure you touch base with your Jamaica Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. If you're doing commercial stuff and you want to trade stuff, don't just get into it. Get some advice from people who are not in the business, but who understand the business because they're working in the ministry. And we're there to help you to do that and save you a lot of headache.
I tell Okoro, we don't discuss everything all the time. So I see your question about land distribution, but this is not the Minister of Land. So another time we'll get the Minister of Land to come here and explain to you about how the land business works. So, Minister, we've discussed industry, investment, and commerce. What are some of the plans that you have for the future for this ministry?
Well, after I came to the ministry, I coming from business, I said, all right, what are the three main objectives? When I took over NCB, I didn't have more than two or three objectives to change the bank. So what am I going to do here? Well, something happened to me as soon after I came into the ministry. Statin published the trade results, and I was appalled.
Trade result meaning
what we import,
Mhm.
what we sell, and the
Mhm.
difference.
Mhm.
So we imported, listen to this number, $5.975 billion US in 2021. We exported a mere 1.441 billion US dollars. The net deficit is 4.534 billion US dollars. Now, that figure hit me because last year was our 60th anniversary. I said, all right, my researchers, give me the numbers from 1960 of our trade balance. Well, Minister Morgan, for those 61 years between 1960 and 2021, we had 1 year when we had a positive trade balance. It was before you were born, 1966. So you see how long we have been in the deficit, and when you look at the curve, is just going down, deficit, deficit, deficit. So I said, all right, we have had 50 years of growth at 1% or less, the average, and we've had 61 years of negative trade balances. Now, one is not causing the other, but the correlation is so consistent and long that you know that they're affecting each other. So I said to them that my first objective is that we have to grow exports exponentially. Otherwise, we're going to remain a poor country for a long time. If you don't have natural resources like Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia in oil, even if you have many other resources, you cannot get rich quickly. The only way you're going to do it, like Singapore, Latvia, Estonia, Israel, Japan, is make sure you get investments in and you train your people. So my two other objectives were increase the inflow of investment, local and foreign, and then work with HEART and other agencies to train our people, because the way we're going to get out of poverty is, yes, grow exports, increase your investment, but on a long-term basis. The way you get rich is Singapore didn't get rich by just having investments. They educated their people. So a big part of that, where I'm working with HEART, first to start to make we have the workforce, but then to step that up to make sure Jamaicans are well educated. It's a business imperative.
So we have Noel, who is asking. He says he's from Port Linton in Costa Rica, and he's asking, how can we trade from Port Linton in Costa Rica to Jamaica, Minister?
Well, the Port of Kingston is well run. It's one of the best ports, one of the 7 best ports in the world. Our customs agency, we use Asacuda. I'm very sure you probably in Costa Rica use Asacuda. Most of the best run ports in the world use Asacuda. And Jamaica Customs Agency is online. Jamaica Customs Agency is now on JamaicaBusinessGateway.com. So you can easily find that out, or you can use the email and email me at aubyn.management@gmail.com.
Minister, someone asks, how do you have a disabilities policy in the ministry? Do you facilitate persons with disabilities?
The access to our buildings allow that by law, but broadly, the government, and certainly, as you know, Minister, the Andrew Holness administration has been very active right up front with the disabilities legislation to make sure most any legislation we make these days include disabilities, including one that I just passed in the Senate this Friday.
So essentially, your ministry not only is dealing with industry, investment, and commerce, but you also have a human side where you're catering to the vulnerable.
Because if you for the vulnerable and for people who don't have jobs, people are the reason you do business.
Mhm.
You don't do business to fill warehouses.
Mhm.
You do business to have warehouses that have goods that serve people.
So tell me some of before we go, because we don't have a lot of time, Nadine. Uh, so tell me, what are some of the major achievements that your ministry has had over the last year?
I would think that one of the major achievement is that we were able, when most every agency closed down, with every business sector closed down, the BPO, what people know as BPO, the knowledge processing outsourcing, remained alive because we were able to work with the Ministry of Finance to get work from home, and that's why.
Hold on, let me stop you. I'm going to interrupt you a lot.
Yeah, man, do that.
So you're saying that when a lot of us had to stay home and couldn't go to work, people in the BPO were still able to earn a living.
They stayed home and work because we put that work from home arrangement in place, and it wasn't easy. We were one of the first to do it, and it worked out amazingly well. We have not ditched it completely. I think we now have an arrangement where up to 30% of people can work from home. Many have gone back to work though, but that saved us. That's the only sector that I can think of, Minister Morgan, that did not shut down and kept growing right through the pandemic. Because even our outperforming tourism industry had to close down. I remember Minister Ed Bartlett, you will remember, the Resilient Corridor came in and he made lots of innovations to get tourism back up, but they had to close down at one time. The BPO sector didn't close. So that's one of our real successes.
So the Minister, the JBDC and the banks need to look into regarding business development loans. This is Garrett asking.
I would never disagree with that at all. In fact, as the merger issue of Exim Bank and DBJ has been now in the public square, I have had words with finance minister and even the prime minister to say, look, as if and when we merge these, consideration will have to be given for the people who normally won't go into banks. They're scared to go into NCB. They won't go to Scotia. They won't even go to DBJ. So we have to find a way, as we make this merger, that we include them.
Repeat what you said.
There is a consideration. The team from the Ministry of Finance is looking at the possibility of merging DBJ and Exim Bank. There's a reason for that.
DBJ is the Development Bank of Jamaica, and Exim Bank is the Export-Import Bank
of Jamaica.
So DBJ gives loans to small businesses and
big businesses.
And the Exim Bank is Export-Import Bank,
but mainly for small business. They do a lot of for SMEs.
Okay. So, and you're planning to merge them to make them work more efficiently?
We may, yes, because there's a reason as well. There's no reason for the government to have two places where you put a lot of capital. Exim Bank does not have the capital it needs to grow. DBJ is a much better capitalized bank. It just makes sense to grow because there's one pocket it's coming from. But you cannot merge them in such a way that that you do not have inclusivity for the people, for the gentleman who just asked a question. They're not comfortable going into banks. We have to find a way to help them. But technology can help us.
So I Love My Girl 1994 says railways are coming back. Can free zones be set up around key railroad hubs to do storage and distribution?
You know, where we are now in the free zone is not a bad place, but we're looking at Vernon Field for what our colleague Mike Henry calls the Aerotropolis, where you'll have a big airport there, develop the port at Rocky Point, which is a deep water port, the railway from Montego Bay coming into that area at Vernon Field, and of course the highway is right there, so that would become a wonderful Aerotropolis. But even as we plan that, and that's a big plan down the road, right now where we are in Portmore and Caymanas are places where that the railroad, if and when it comes back, will fit into that, because it just makes sense to do that.
And so one of the questions that people always ask is, when the railroad comes, if and when it comes, will it be? And I know you're not in the Ministry of Transport, but just from an industry and commerce perspective, what kind of difference could a railroad make in terms of our business?
But first of all, it would move people much more easily and much more efficiently. It would move goods a lot more efficiently and effectively. And as people populate places in the countryside that they never did used to populate, we're going to need more transport systems, and it can't be just by road. If the railroad comes in, then you're going to be able to move a lot more massive amount of goods and services, maybe even houses. Put houses on railways and move them around once you build them. So it opens up a lot of opportunities, and clearly many countries that are doing well in the world still use railroad as a part of their transportation system.
All right. What else? Do you have any other achievements that you wish to mention?
Well, we
to
have
the public? I know you have a lot.
we do have a lot. A lot of what JAMPRO does, a lot of what JBDC does as agencies to help people. One of the things I wanted to, because people identify with money, I want to go back to the productive incentive relief. As in 21.
What does that mean?
20,
productive incentive.
As I said before, you start a business, you want to manufacture something, you come in and talk to us. We look at what you're planning and we can give you a grant, not a loan. You don't have to pay it back.
So productive incentive relief is where you
is
can
a
come
major
to your ministry,
item.
And a small business person, like some of the persons on TikTok
asking,
who are asking, you can get a grant.
A grant, not a loan.
To help with your small business.
And you know how you get the grant, even if you have an idea and you don't have the plan put together, we will have JBDC and JAMPRO and other people help you put the plan together and then give you the productive incentive relief. In 2021, when the country was shutting down and people had problems, we doled out about $109 billion through the PIR. The money is there. We have about.
So you gave small businesses $109 billion.
That's the figure the ministry gave me. I asked for it, and last year we gave about 88 billion. Right. We have to now make sure small people understand that this benefit, small and big, but it's mainly for small.
But you know, you say that, and you say it's a simple, minister. And
we haven't been saying it.
Yeah, when you go on the street, people are saying, boy, government now do nothing for we and and all of that. But then when you talk about some of the things that you're doing, a lot of people don't believe,
I know, but you know, Minister, because you've seen it with me in cabinet. We gave 34 different benefits, targeted benefits during the pandemic. We gave taximen, we gave school children, we gave hospitals.
But the taximen them say we never do nothing for them, Minister.
No, we gave them 25,000 and more.
Taximen got 25,000. Some of them.
Yes, and them draw it down. And Minister Clark at the Ministry of Finance, him can check everything. Him see when them draw it down. Like no, him just talk about, as him just put out a post about the salary. Him say up to May 4th, they had thousands and thousands of people, mainly from the press, pulling down the salary. After the announcement yesterday, they have about 4.
I'm gonna spend some time before the end of this program to address that, because I see a lot of people on here talking about salaries. But before I go though, so productive incentive, what was the other one?
The other one was, of course, what we're doing with the BPO and BPO coming in. Lots of more people coming in. We are helping to facilitate people to get their businesses through. We're changing the Cannabis Licensing Authority to make it a lot more attractive and easy. And those people who are coming, especially the traditional farmers, come talk to us. We help you. The PS has found money. We're going to give out a lot of money to help them. We're going to reduce the fees. The fees now, Minister Morgan, are quoted in US dollars. I find that offensive. I shouldn't say offensive. I find that's an alternative I'd rather not use. That's an alternative I want to use. So I'm now going to make sure they're in Jamaican dollars, and we're going to remove many of those fees for the people who are at the lower end of the production table. And so those are some of the things we're doing in the ministry.
If I may, a comment just came in, and
Yes,
I
Nadia.
also have a question. Angela says the program is so informative. People don't know a lot of what is happening in social media, selling lies, and persons are also asking for your contact information, which you mentioned that is out there.
Yes, it's Aubyn, AUBYN dot management, MANAGEMENT at gmail.com.
You know, and Aubyn, you're here with me. And before we leave, I think there's something very important that we need to talk about.
Tell me.
So the Minister of Finance yesterday announced some increases, and I'm speaking specifically for the benefit of the people
We're asking.
who are on Twitter. No government minister or MP negotiated a salary increase. As a matter of fact,
We didn't even know. Until it was just about to be announced.
Until it was just about to be announced.
In other words, a system was followed.
The minister's salary, for my friends on TikTok who are listening, is tied to the permanent secretary's salary. So in government,
and has been for about 30 years.
So in government, you have the prime minister, you have the minister, you have the minister of state. Every ministry is headed by a minister, and just below the minister is the permanent secretary. So it's basically like
below by $52.
Right. So it's basically like you're in school, and you have the principal, and then you have the vice principal and the senior teacher. So what has happened since long before I became in politics, Aubyn, is if the permanent secretary salary goes up, the minister's salary has
get
to
a
go
little
up.
creepy, yes.
Because the vice principal cannot be paid more than the principal. So over the last year, we have increased doctors' salaries by over almost 200%. Nurses' salaries, some of them by almost 200%. Principal salaries 100%. But in order for us to do
ACPs,
police officers and so on. So in order for us to finish the process, to make sure everyone who works for the government has a salary, automatically the minister's salaries had to go up. So all the persons who are on social media saying ministers gave themselves an increase, that is not correct. It was automatic.
We had no vote.
We had no vote.
We didn't even know about it. We didn't know what it was. We know about it, but we didn't know what it was.
So there's more information going to come out. You can go on the Ministry of Finance's website. And I'm saying to you, Misha, that you are incorrect, because doctors in some cases have moved from $4 million to $11 million.
That's right.
Principals in some cases have moved from $2 million to $8 and $9 million, right? So there are significant increases. You see, one of the challenges in Aubyn is that nobody wants to tell you how much they're earning.
Yeah, but they want to talk about yours.
Right. So a lot of people have gotten movements from like $1.5 million to $6 million. Teachers, doctors, nurses. Nurses have gotten significant increases. Some nurses have moved from $2 million to $7, $8, $9 million. But nobody's going to talk about it.
And the Prime Minister is not even the highest person paid by close. There are people in government earn more than the Prime Minister, and there are some people who don't believe that's right. That's a discussion out there. So, you know, it's not that the Prime Minister and ministers are getting the biggest salaries in the country working for the government.
Judges are the highest.
Judges are the top up there. Right. I think the BOJ governor is paid separately and different and better. And that's how it is. That's just how it is some places.
So we're going to have to speak more about this. And I'm going to do probably a little post on it later. Because I know that people on TikTok are very interested in the conversation. And it's a conversation.
Right. You mean like the whole world? Like the whole world.
Instagram, Facebook, people and love are very interested in this issue. And I think it is a good conversation to have, because the people of Jamaica need to know what is happening.
And we have been transparent and will be transparent about it.
Right. So I want to thank our Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator the Honourable Aubyn Hill, for joining us today.
My brother Robert,
A
thank
lot
you
of
so much.
A lot of people are saying, boy, they never know these things before. So I think
We're going to be out
continue.
there
There
a
are
lot
comments
more.
on JIS social media pages as well about the same thing that you just said, that it's informative, they're learning. So keep it up.
Right. So now, Nadine, I want to thank your listeners. I want to thank those on TikTok. We're about to leave. I want to thank those on Facebook, those on GIS, those on YouTube. We're going to be here next week at the same time, so you can tune in for the live. So we can discuss another ministry and tell you how the government can assist you in going about your business. So until next time, we're gonna leave with
Never would have made it.
Nadine, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so
Turn
much.
it up,
Great
man.
having
Put
you
it on
both.
the big speakers. let them
Definitely,
hear.
definitely.
Bless people on TikTok. I see some of you are on it saying all sorts of things. And we're on a Christian station, and I'm not gonna let you guys disturb our peace here. We are people of God, and we are not gonna allow you to break our spirits. So I am just gonna leave this video, especially I'm dedicating these songs to TikTok, because I think some of these people on TikTok need Jesus. So just start it over.
We all need Jesus.
We all need Jesus, Nadine.
See that you were the one I held on to, and I never would have made it. Oh, I never could have made it. Never could have made it. I would have lost it all. Oh, but now I see how you were there for me.